The blue teacup trembled between my fingers as my husband's words passed through the kitchen wall. It has to look natural, Mom. We can't raise any suspicions. I froze in the hallway of our house, the one Michael and I bought 3 years ago with so much hope. My mother-in-law Margaret answered in a clinical tone I had never heard from her before. There are drugs that leave no trace in your body. I worked as a nurse for 30 years. I know exactly what to use and how to administer the right doses. My heart started racing. Could it be they were talking about me? How long until the insurance is confirmed? Margaret asked. The contestability period ends in 2 weeks. After that, the 5 million will be ours. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to get more stories like this. I backed away slowly, holding my breath. I had come back early that night with my friends, wanting to surprise Michael. Now I understood why he insisted so much I go out, why he sounded so anxious on the phone when I mentioned I might return earlier. They were planning to kill me. I left quietly through the front door, leaving it closed exactly as I found it. In the car, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the key. Where should I go? Who would believe me? Michael was respected in the community, charismatic. I was just the kindergarten teacher who, according to mutual friends, was lucky to have a man like him. I could only think of one person. Jessica. My sister. The very same sister I hadn't spoken to for 3 years ever since she tried to warn me about Michael's controlling behavior, the behavior I had defended blindly. The drive to her apartment felt like an eternity. At every traffic light, I imagined Michael discovering my absence, calling me, tracking my phone. I turned off the phone and tossed it in the glove compartment. It was raining when I parked in front of her building. I hesitated for a moment before ringing the doorbell. What if she didn't answer? What if she sent me away? Emily. Jessica's face mixed surprise and concern as she opened the door. What happened? I broke into tears before I could even form a single word. Inside her apartment, amidst my sobs, I told her everything. The words tumbled out disjointedly and frantically. They're going to poison me, life insurance. Michael and Margaret. I expected disbelief, hesitation. Instead, Jessica held my hands. I believe you. We're going to fix this together. The next morning, with a clearer head, but a heart still racing, we came up with a plan. Jessica called my best friend Samantha. I need you to come over right away, Jessica said on the phone. It's about Emily. Samantha arrived an hour later, hugging me tightly. Oh my God, Em. Why didn't you call me sooner? He was monitoring everything, I replied, realizing for the first time how isolated I had been. My calls, messages, even my outings with you were all timed. We can go to the police, Samantha suggested. Jessica shook her head. We need solid evidence. An overheard conversation isn't enough, especially against someone with Michael's reputation. So what do we do? I asked. Jessica smiled in that familiar way from our childhood, the smile she always gave before suggesting some wild idea that somehow worked. We're going to give them exactly what they want. A death. Your death. What do you mean? You're going back home, and you're going to start showing mysterious symptoms. You'll gradually get worse until... She paused dramatically. You die. But I won't really die, I finished, understanding the plan. Exactly. And when they think they're safe, that they've won, we reveal everything at your funeral. That's way too dangerous, protested Samantha. More dangerous than staying with someone who's planning to poison me. I said, feeling a surge of determination. They don't expect me to know. I can fake symptoms that match exactly the poison they are planning to use. I have contacts in the medical field, said Jessica. We can get reports, certificates, anything we need. That afternoon, I pretended to come back from a long night out with friends. Michael looked relieved when he saw me. I was worried, he said, kissing my forehead. You didn't answer your phone. My battery died, I lied with a smile. Sorry for worrying you. While making a sandwich in the kitchen, I glanced at the blue cups in the cabinet, the same ones Margaret always used to serve my tea. The very cups that would soon become instruments in my supposed death. It was time to start playing the most important role of my life. 2 weeks later, I began showing the first symptoms. A slight dizziness during breakfast, a pallor that didn't go unnoticed. Are you feeling okay, dear? Michael asked, his voice loaded with fake concern. I noticed a glimmer in his eyes I'd never seen before. Expectation. I'm just a bit tired, I replied, pushing aside the tea Margaret had prepared. I think it's just school stress. In the following days, I gradually intensified the symptoms. Nausea in the mornings, growing fatigue, little spots I created with makeup while Michael was at work. Jessica and I researched extensively about the effects of arsenic, the poison we suspected Margaret planned to use because of her hospital experience and how difficult it was to detect. On Monday, during a teachers' meeting, I let my performance reach a new level. Emily, are you all right? Asked Olivia, my co-worker, as I leaned on the table, breathing hard. Just need to. I didn't finish the sentence. I let my body slump to the floor, causing panic among the teachers. When I woke up, I was in the hospital with Michael by my side, holding my hand far too tightly. What happened? I asked, feigning confusion. You passed out at school, love. The doctors are running tests. Dr. Rivera entered the room, Jessica's contact. His face held a perfectly professional seriousness, as he went over a clipboard with fabricated test results. Ms. Wilson, we need to investigate further what's happening. Your symptoms are worrisome. Michael bristled. Is it something serious, doctor? We don't know yet. We'd like to keep you under observation for a few days. During my hospital stay, I watched every reaction from Michael and Margaret. She came every day with homemade soups that I thanked her for and then forgot to eat. Michael alternated between public displays of devotion and quiet conversations with the doctors, trying to speed up my discharge. She'd be better off at home, he insisted to Dr. Rivera in the corridor. I can take care of her. My mother has nursing experience. That's when Brandon, Michael's business partner, appeared in the hospital. His presence wasn't part of the original plan. Emily, you really scared us, he said, bringing flowers. His eyes examined my frail appearance with genuine concern. Michael tried to usher him out, but Brandon resisted. We need to finish those documents, Michael. The bank is pressing us. What documents? I asked, genuinely curious. Nothing important, Michael quickly cut in. Business stuff. Don't worry about it now. But I saw something in Brandon's eyes, suspicion. When Michael went to get coffee, Brandon moved closer to the bed. Emily, is everything okay between you and Michael? I hesitated. Brandon wasn't part of the plan, but something in me felt he might be an ally. Why do you ask? He's been acting strange. Liquidating assets, asking about the company's insurance policies. He lowered his voice. And the day before yesterday, I caught him looking up autopsy procedures on the office computer. My blood went cold. I didn't tell Brandon about the plan, but I planted a seed of doubt. Brandon, if something happens to me, could you check on our finances? His expression changed. Emily, you're scaring me. Just promise me. I promise. After a week, the doctors, following our plan, announced they couldn't identify the cause of my mysterious illness. They suggested I go back home, to be comfortable, while they continued investigating. The coded language didn't escape Michael and Margaret. They exchanged looks that said it all. Their plan seemed to be working. At home, the charade intensified. I could barely get out of bed. Michael began working from home, always vigilant, always present when Margaret came by with meals or teas. The blue cup became my silent enemy. I would pour its contents on the plants when no one was watching, then watch them wilt days later. Samantha visited me religiously, bringing a small recorder hidden in her purse. Olivia, my co-worker from school, also dropped by with drawings from my students. They miss you, Olivia said, carefully watching as Margaret controlled my visits, never letting us be alone. In the third week at home, I let my condition deteriorate drastically. I barely spoke, faking difficulty breathing. I noticed Margaret increasing the doses in my tea, growing increasingly impatient. Maybe we should take her back to the hospital, Michael suggested one night, sounding genuinely concerned. For a moment, I felt a twinge of doubt. Could it be that he really cared? Why? Margaret replied coldly. The doctors already said they can't do anything more. She'll be more comfortable here. That night, when I thought they were asleep, I heard them talking in the study. I crept silently down the hall with Samantha's recorder active under my nightgown. This is taking too long, Michael complained. The bank is asking about the loans. I need that insurance money soon. Patience, Margaret replied. We can't force anything right now. It's almost done. 2 more days with the dose I'm giving, and it's over. And if they ask for an autopsy? I thought about that. I'll prepare an overdose of her painkillers. It will look like she couldn't bear the suffering any longer. You'll find the body, ravaged by the loss. No one will question it. I returned to my room, trembling, not from feigned weakness, but from anger. Part of me wanted to confront them right then and there, to shout every truth. But the plan had to be followed through to the end. The next morning, Jessica came to visit me. Michael tried to stop her by saying I was too weak, but she insisted, mentioning legal matters that needed to be resolved. My sister is a lawyer, I reminded him weakly. I need to update my will. The mention of the will completely changed his attitude. Sure, honey. You two need some privacy. Once we were finally alone, Jessica checked the room for any cameras or bugs before speaking. Everything's set, she whispered. Dr. Rivera will be on call tomorrow night. He'll come confirm the death and fake the death certificate. And the body for the wake. We have a terminal patient who agreed to be substituted. Her family will receive a generous compensation for a genuine private funeral. Michael will want to see my body. Dr. Rivera will say that your face was disfigured by the reaction to the medication. We'll use heavy makeup on the closed coffin, allowing only a quick glimpse. I swallowed hard. And if something goes wrong? Jessica squeezed my hand. We have contingency plans. Samantha will be there with you. At the right moment, she'll give you a light sedative that simulates death for a few hours. When Michael and Margaret go out to take care of the documents, our team will pick you up. That night, I took the sedative Samantha had hidden in a bottle of vitamins. I lay down in bed, feeling my breathing slow and my heart rate drop. Michael and Margaret entered the room, checking my vital signs. The last thing I saw was Margaret pressing a pillow against my face, a detail that wasn't part of the plan. Panic surged as I fought the sedative to breathe. Just to be sure, I heard her say as darkness took over. I woke hours later in a safe house with Jessica and Samantha by my side. My throat hurt. She tried to suffocate me, I whispered. Jessica squeezed my hand tightly. We have it all recorded. They're going to be arrested for attempted murder, not just conspiracy. The next day, the local newspapers reported my sudden death. Michael gave tearful interviews, false tears streaming down his face. Margaret organized the wake at the local church, where I was known for working with children. It will be tomorrow, Jessica announced. All our allies are in place. The police will be ready. I looked at the obituary in the paper. There was something deeply disturbing about reading about my death, seeing my smiling photo next to words like "will be missed." Michael had chosen a picture of us together, strategically leaving Jessica out of the frame. I'm scared, I confessed. It's normal, Samantha replied. But remember why we're doing this. They tried to take your life. Tomorrow, you take it back. That night, we rehearsed every detail for the next day. The exact moment I'd enter, the words I'd say, where the police would be stationed. Every contingency was planned. Are you ready for your own funeral? Jessica asked. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, a woman so different from the shy teacher I once was, from the wife who accepted everything. In the eyes of the woman staring back, I saw something new, determination. I'm ready for my rebirth. The church was packed for my funeral. I watched from afar through the window of a parked car, wearing a simple disguise, a dark wig, sunglasses, clothes that Emily Wilson would never wear. Jessica sat by my side, squeezing my hand when Michael entered, impeccably dressed in black, accepting condolences with a devastated expression. Look at him, I whispered. He should be an actor, not a businessman. Focus on the plan, Jessica replied. Samantha will signal when it's time. Detective Mason, whom Jessica had convinced after showing our evidence, confirmed over the radio, all officers are in position. Waiting for the signal. When the church was completely full, we entered through the back. The pastor, told only that there would be a special intervention during the service, led us to a small room just off the main space. From there, I could hear everything through a sound system. Michael made an emotional speech, his voice choked with feigned emotion. Emily was the light of my life. I never imagined I'd lose her so soon, so tragically. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, as he continued weaving lies about our perfect love. Every false word only fueled my determination. Then Margaret took the podium. Her speech made me choke with anger. Emily was like the daughter I never had, she declared. I cared for her until the very end, just as she deserved. Some say fate took her away too soon, but I prefer to believe that pure souls like hers are called to heaven early. Samantha suddenly stood up. How can you say that? How can you sit there talking about care, when you controlled every aspect of her life? A murmur ran through the congregation. It wasn't part of the plan for Samantha to speak so soon, but she improvised brilliantly. Emily had been unhappy for months, she continued. She said she felt constantly watched, that she could barely breathe in her own home. That's inappropriate, Michael interrupted as he moved toward Samantha. My wife was sick. You have no idea what you're saying. Olivia stood up from another row. She seemed perfectly healthy before she started taking those teas that your mother made. The tension grew when Brandon also spoke up. Michael, the week before Emily got sick, you increased her life insurance to $5 million. Explain that. Michael's face went pale. Margaret grabbed the podium, her hands trembling with tension. It was my cue. Jessica signaled and I walked through the back of the church to the main doors. The doors opened and the silence that followed my entrance was absolute as I stepped in, removing my sunglasses, wig, and disguise. I think I can speak for myself, I announced. Chaos erupted. Shouts, people standing up, Michael frozen like a statue. Margaret let out a shrill cry and backed away. How is this possible? Michael stuttered, his face shifting from shock to anger. You're dead. Clearly I'm not, I replied as I walked down the central aisle. It's hard to kill someone who already knows the plan, right? The police moved in quietly from their positions near the altar. What are you talking about? Michael quickly regained his composure. Emily, you're confused. Your illness. There was never any illness, Michael. I heard you and your mother planning to poison me for the insurance money. Jessica stepped to my side, holding an envelope. We have everything recorded. Every conversation, every detail of the plan. Including Margaret trying to suffocate you with a pillow. Margaret advanced toward me, her face contorted with rage. You liar. You ruined everything. Two officers grabbed her as she continued screaming, completely losing control. He never loved you. It was a marriage of convenience. You were too weak for him, always crying, always needing validation. Michael tried to intervene. Mom, shut up. Why should we wait? You didn't want her anymore. She was a burden, an obstacle. Margaret shouted at me, her voice filled with venom. You didn't even realize he had a mistress. So pathetic, so blind. The revelation hit me like a punch, but I held my ground. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me falter. Margaret and Michael Wilson, Detective Mason announced as he stepped forward, are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and insurance fraud. As the officers cuffed them, an elderly man stood up at the back of the church. I didn't recognize him at first until he approached Margaret. Thomas, she gasped, recognizing her own brother whom she hadn't seen in years. You haven't learned anything, Maggie. His voice trembled. Even after what happened with Robert. Who is Robert? I asked. Thomas looked at me with tired eyes. Robert was my brother. Her husband. Michael's father. The silence in the church grew heavy. He died of natural causes, Margaret quickly replied. No, he didn't, Thomas continued. I always suspected, but I never had proof. He started getting sick exactly the way you planned to make this poor girl sick, small doses, gradually worsening symptoms, leaving doctors baffled. Michael went pale. What are you saying? My father died of heart failure. Your father was poisoned, Michael. By his own mother. So she could raise him in her image, without his weak influence. Thomas turned to the officers. I have his diaries, noting his symptoms, his suspicions. They were never enough to reopen the case, but now. Margaret was dragged away, as she kept screaming accusations at everyone. Michael silently followed her, devastated by the revelation. Weeks later, sitting in Jessica's office, we watched Margaret's confession. In exchange for a reduced sentence, she admitted everything, the plan against me, and, shockingly, the murder of Robert 25 years ago. Michael didn't know about his father, she explained in the confession video. But I raised him to understand that love is weakness. That people like Emily are anchors holding back true potential. He learned well. I turned off the video, unable to watch any further. She got 20 years, Jessica informed me. Michael got 15 for complicity, and for the insurance fraud that was already in motion. And now? I asked, feeling strangely empty. Revenge hadn't brought the satisfaction I expected. Now you restart, my sister said. The house is for sale, the blocked money will be released when the process is over. You are free, Emily. 3 months later, I went back to teaching. The school principal, understanding everything that had happened, offered me my old position, and I accepted with gratitude. The kids didn't ask questions about what had happened. To them, I had just been sick for a while. On my first day back, Olivia greeted me with a tight hug. "We missed you." The kids kept asking about Professor Emily. In the classroom, 20 curious faces greeted me enthusiastically. On my desk, I found a vase of wildflowers and a card signed by everyone. "Welcome back to life," the message read. That afternoon, I took the blue cups from a box I'd brought from home, the very cups Margaret used to serve me the poison tea. "Kids, today we're doing a special project," I announced. "We're going to turn something that brings me sad memories into something beautiful." We carefully broke the cups into pieces. With glue, paint, and a lot of enthusiasm from you kids, we created a colorful mosaic in the shape of a blooming tree. "What does that tree represent, Professor Emily?" one student asked. "It represents that we can turn broken things into something new and beautiful," I replied. "That nothing is lost forever." The following Sunday, I visited Jessica for our now traditional weekly lunch. Our reconciliation was one of the few gifts this tragedy had brought me. "How are you feeling?" she asked as we set the table. "Different. Stronger, but also more vulnerable." "It's strange." "That's exactly how it should be," she said with a smile. "True strength is in allowing yourself to be vulnerable, not in controlling everything like Margaret did." We sat together on the porch, watching the afternoon pass. The silence between us was no longer full of unsaid resentments, but felt comforting, like old times. "You know what I realized?" I said as the sun began to set. "Margaret was wrong about everything. Love isn't weakness. It's the ability to love, even after betrayal, that really makes you strong." Jessica squeezed my hand. "I will never let anyone belittle or isolate me again," I continued. "Nor will I let anyone define who I am." "And who are you, Emily?" I looked out at the horizon, feeling a peace I hadn't experienced in years. Someone who planned her own funeral and showed up for it. Someone who died and was reborn. I smiled. Someone who is just beginning to discover herself. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to get access to more stories like this. The mosaic of broken cups now hangs at the entrance of my new home, not an isolated mansion like the one I shared with Michael, but a cozy apartment near the school. Every time I pass by it, I think not of the betrayal or the poison, but of the transformation. Of the broken pieces of my life that, rearranged, formed something far more beautiful than I ever could have imagined.